Good morning and welcome to Edinburgh Waverley for Trains and Wellbeing Route Learning with Andrew. I'm just going to get straight into it as we have a 2 hour and 39-minute journey to cover. So having entered the cab, I'm going to set the brake to full service. Checking the train is secure is the most important thing. Enable the safety systems. That's all lit up properly, TPWS, AWS alarm, and the DRA is illuminated. So now we'll set the lights up, so for daytime running, and turning the tail lights off. It's the rotational thing is headlights, the switch at top is for the tail lights. Right. Today we're with the InterCity East Coast operator running one of their 4 routes from Edinburgh Waverley. This service is for Aberdeen. We would not normally be starting here from platform 16, but due to issues with rolling stock availability, the 0708 service from Leeds has to terminate here at Waverley, which is a train we would normally be taking over for our journey to Aberdeen. This is to cover the Edinburgh to London section of the missing 0752 service from Aberdeen this morning, which did not run. Passengers and train crew have almost finished transferring to this 2+5 car set, which has been quickly put together for us and delivered from Craig and Tinney. That's us ready to go. So signals clear, DRA's off, run forwards, brakes off, and we'll pull away with notch 2. So I'll be driving this formation just in the normal manner I would the 2+9 formation, to demonstrate the correct acceleration points for changes in line speeds and stopping positions at platforms. So our departure time was 10:25. So we have double yellow ahead and we have position 1 route indicator. So that's going to take us onto the Y line in Princess Street Gardens. So it's WXYZ from south to north in Princess Street Gardens. So you'll see those referenced on the theatre boards when we come out of Edinburgh Waverley, and sometimes coming through the Haymarket. So banner repeater ahead, we expect to be showing a proceed, and it is. Signal ahead is yellow, which means we have a red ahead. As we pass the former site of Princess Street Garden signal box, speed limit will increase to 35 miles per hour. It's a very long train, so we go quite a bit into the tunnel before we can take this, and I'm also going to be cautious because of the adverse signalling. I would never run the train at full performance in such circumstances. So, like I was saying, we are due to terminate at Aberdeen at 13:07, arriving at 13:04. We need to be on time to give the engineering team at Aberdeen the time we need to correct our train's formation for the afternoon's return journey, unless I've got this morning's train fixed. We will take advantage of enhanced speed limits, and because we have 2 running power cars encompassing the 5 coach formation, none of the HST running restrictions in the sectional appendix apply. We can just enjoy the added acceleration, but right now we're stopping for that red signal ahead. So again, a cautious approach because we're approaching a red rather than the usual approach into the platform. Just an added layer of safety. So we're scheduled to depart here at 10:32, or whenever given the all clear. Signal ahead is cleared, so we will not use the DRA as we come to a stop. Just secure the train, brake step freeze adequate, and take the reverser to neutral. That was fast. Oh well. Let's go. So about power notch 2 to get us moving. The speed limit here is 35 miles per hour, departing on a green signal, with our speed limit shortly increasing to 90. So this is Duff Street Junction, or Haymarket East Junction. So as we clear the points and approach the signal you can see on the left, which is the rear of the signal, our rear power car would normally be clear of the 90 board, so we can get the power on. As we pass Haymarket Depot on the right, it's worth taking note of the speed limits on the diverging routes, as some of our services may take those. So we have Murrayfield Stadium on our right, and shortly we will be crossing the Water of Leith. This is Haymarket West Junction. And if we come from the other Haymarket platforms, so that would be platform 4, we would have to cross those points at 40 miles per hour, and I will do another run which I will record and I'll demonstrate that. Signal green, we're approaching the overbridge for Saughton Road, and we need to be at 75 miles per hour to take the curve round to South Gyle. And I have a quick break from talking. This is South Gyle. In about a mile we'll be at Edinburgh Park. We saw the tram line when we were leaving Haymarket, and the tram stops next to Edinburgh Park. Sorry, not Edinburgh Park, Edinburgh Gateway. I've got that completely wrong because I'm so used to doing Edinburgh to Glasgow. The next station we're approaching is called Edinburgh Gateway, and it's an interchange for mainline trains and trams, so it's National Rails linked to Edinburgh Airport effectively. So our enhanced speed limit allows us to travel up to 100 miles per hour. Now the HST boards apply to a whole array of multiple units, so the diesel multiple unit trains that operate here will drive at those enhanced speed limits. We won't be seeing any SP boards, but we will in a future outing where I'm going to do another run on the Edinburgh to Glasgow, and I will explain that there. So the signage is pretty much, we have in most cases 2 speed boards, be one on top, and there will be an enhanced speed limit below with HST written on it. We'll also see little diamonds at the trackside with T's next to some of the singular speed limit boards. Those signify the end of the HST enhanced limit. So this is us approaching Ammon Viaduct. So we're getting close to a speed change down to 80 miles per hour as we approach Dalmeny Junction. There's a Morpeth board for it. I'm slightly below the speed that the board suggests, which is fine. We have to slow down to 50 miles per hour to go on to the South Approach Viaduct on the Forth Bridge. So for that one, if you're reading your route learning notes, which if you haven't got a copy, I suggest you get yourself a copy from the link in the YouTube video description. So Dalmeny Junction, I would say brake step 2 normally. And that will safely get you down to speed before entering the Forth Bridge. This is Dalmeny. Green signal clearing us onto the bridge. And there's your 2 speed boards. It's a 20 and a 50 enhanced. This is the South Approach Viaduct. This is the Queensferry Pier section. This is the Inchgarvey Pier section, the little island below us to the right. Fife Pier section as we're about to pass through the archway onto the North Approach Viaduct, taking us to a steep downwards gradient into North Queensferry and through North Queensferry Tunnel. Speed limit throughout is 50 miles per hour. Until we get to Jamestown Viaduct. Just had a little pause there because for some reason the name wouldn't come to me. So we have a double yellow, so my route knowledge tells me that this is not urgent, but it's something to be aware of. I certainly won't be putting any more power on at this stage. We'll found a yellow at the Jamestown Viaduct, and there should be a red at the end of the platform at Inverkeithing, where we are scheduled to stop at 10:46, so we're making good time. So there's the red Jamestown Viaduct ahead of us. Speed's coming down okay, but I'm going to take it a bit below 40 because of the gradient. I'm also aware that the brakes are quite slow on this train, so there's quite a delay between putting step 1 in and there actually being any brake pressure applied. So now that this train was put together in a bit of a hurry, I hope it's in a good state of service. Yes, it passed all its checks, it seems to be doing okay. The brakes are working on it, it's powerful. Inverkeithing Tunnel, we have to come out of here at 40 miles per hour. For our enhanced speed limit. And brake step 2 about now is quite a good idea to scrub our speed off for a slow, cautious approach into Inverkeithing, given that we are expecting a red signal. And indeed we are. So as close to the signal as we can, and we'll need the DRA for this one because we're at a red signal. So the train is secured, brakes are applied, we're in neutral. So now it's time for a little breather. We remember that the speed limit here is 40 miles per hour. We have 2 junctions ahead of us. So first is Inverkeithing Central, and then halfway round the bend towards Inverkeithing East Junction, the speed limit increases to 50 miles per hour. and not far after clearing, speed limit increases again to 65 miles per hour with an enhanced limit of 75 miles per hour, which we can take all the way through Dalgety Bay. The next point at which we need to be slowing down for something is to pass through Aberdeen at 50 miles per hour. So I've put some helpful information into the route learning notes that I provide. It's quite easy really. Our next stop is Carnoustie at 11:03. So between here and Carnoustie we will pass through Dalgety Bay, Aberdeen, Burnt Island and Kinghorn. There's quite a lot going on with gradients and quite a few speed changes to be aware of here. It's quite a slow section of the route overall compared to what we'll be doing later on. This is the down Fife line, and we're on the down Fife line all the way to Dundee pretty much. We'll clear Tay Bridge and then briefly we'll be on the down Perth line until we get into Dundee itself, where it simply becomes ready to go. So signal clear, DRA off. It's a slight downward gradient coming out of Inverkeithing, so you can let the brakes off completely. And to finish what I was saying, at Dundee we're on the down main line all the way to Euston Junction, where it becomes the up and down the main line because it's going onto a single track section towards Montrose. From Montrose South Junction, it's the down main line all the way to Aberdeen. So in addition to this video, my route learning notes, and hopefully any notes that you're taking to aid yourself, I highly recommend that you get From Track Maps Book 1 Scotland and Isle of Man. This entire journey is covered there. It doesn't give you speed limit information, but if you study it with the route learning notes I'm giving you and you follow along in this video, it's a really good way of learning the route. And thanks to OpenBVE, Don Clark and contributors, we can drive the entire Edinburgh to Aberdeen line with entirely free and open source software. It works on a variety of platforms, as in computer platforms, not platforms that people stand on and wait for trains, like the one at Dalgety Bay that we're passing right now. Back to the route learning, we clear this bridge at Dalgety Bay and now we can count 3 arched bridges, and beyond them there are 2 under bridges, and the second one is where I recommend doing a step 2 brake application for the 50 mile per hour speed limits coming up through Aberdeen. So we've gone through bridge number 1, bridge number 2, watch watch out for all the changes in gradients around here. Over the summit, the third arched bridge. It's all downhill, definitely no power from here on, so let's look for our second underbridge. My speed's a little bit lower, so I can approach slightly differently. This is the first of the underbridges. And the second, so this is where I recommend we start braking. So I'm going to do a little bit of brake step 1 and complement with brake step 2, the Morpeth board for the 50 mph change ahead. Until you're confident knowing where things are exactly, you can simply follow the power off and braking points that are listed in the notes which accompany this video, and they will always pull you up to a reduction or a stop short. It's to give you time to make mistakes and learn the route without serious consequence. This is Aberdeen, the out of action but listed signal box on the right. I really like Aberdeen, it's got some very nice floral displays. It's looked after very well. Speed limit increasing to 65 mph. Black Sands and Silver Sands beach are on the right. Definitely somewhere good to go on a day off and enjoy a nice swim and a cup of tea and a cake. So here is our limit change to 75 mph, and we lose that enhanced limit. Now on a clear daylight day, it's simply, you can see where the coast comes in and things start sticking out into water. However, on a misty day you might not be able to see that, so we can use the upcoming AWS ramp. So remember that, coming out of Aberdeen, up to speed, AWS ramp, that's your braking point, brake step 2. That will take us down to 65 mph for the end of the enhanced limit, but don't put any power on at this point, not even to maintain that speed, because we have to come down to 40 mph for a short tunnel. So the braking point for that is a right hand curve which also has a Morpeth board. So that one's quite easy to see. The Morpeth board will give you a speed limit of 35 mph, but we can take 40 because we can use the enhanced limit. Some of the Morpeth boards on this route will list both, but not this one. So 40 mph through the little tunnel, approaching Burnt Island. Quite a popular seaside location as well. Dare I say that I think I prefer Aberdeen. It's also something to do with I got covered in jellyfish around here once, which I think has sort of put me off the place a bit. A sort of a wave carried them over on top of me as I was going across the Kinsale. Not a nice experience. So coming out of Burnt Island, the speed limit increases to 50. And we are now approaching 75 enhanced. So this doesn't last forever, unfortunately, so we're looking for an underbridge with a signal, and that's a power off point. And the power off alone should bring us down to 65 miles per hour, so we shouldn't even need to use the brakes. We're not quite at 65 miles per hour, so I just keep the power on. And power off here because it needs to be off for the next part. So again, no power because for Kinghorn Tunnel we have to go through at 30 miles per hour. And we can use this rock face on the left as our guide for our braking point. It's confirmed by the Morpeth board and it says 20 and 30. Can feel quite slow doing this, so always best check your speedometer. Also, it's good to take a bit more speed off because of the way the gradients are around here. We don't want to be sitting at 29 and constantly pulsing the brakes on to maintain our speed. That makes an uncomfortable drive. In fact, even if you bring your speed down to 20 for the above speed limit there and you come through without brakes on, you're pretty much doing okay. The time is 10:58 and we are due in Carnoustie at 11:03, so don't want to dally about too long. So through Kinghorn we go. Speed limit to 50 miles per hour. So we're going to pass by two sets of double speed boards. One's a 65 and 75, the other's a 60 over 75, so speed limit is constant throughout. So after the second of the dual speedboard posts, we look for the second underbridge after the signal. So the two sets of speedboards, second underbridge after a signal, and it's brake step 2 to get us to 65 miles per hour for Starks Park Stadium. 65, 75. 60/75. And I was thinking a little bit too far ahead of myself there. I have adverse signalling, so I know where the red signal is. It's at the end of the platform, so we've got quite a bit of time for that. Just need to remind ourselves, red ahead. This is Starks Park Stadium on the right, which is also where we need to be down to 65 for, but we have the signal to contend with, so I'm coming in more cautiously. So we're approaching Inverteal Viaduct and we need to get our speed off. So again, a cautious approach into the station, not a usual high performance, know when to brake and stop perfectly at the end. There's a slight upward gradient in this area. So you can actually, when doing this approach, you can quite easily take too much speed off, but we're doing okay. Okay, secured with the brakes when you set the DRA, neutral, and take a little breather. Now this is our actual departure time, 11:03. However, because we're constantly approaching platforms with adverse signals, we're coming in more cautiously. I think that's losing us a bit of time. So a reminder, the speed limit here is 65 miles per hour and we are sitting at a red. So we won't be dispatched, or we should not be dispatched until signal's green. So hopefully the train guard's seen that now, it's just changed. There we go. Check the signal is green. DRA off, so we're on a slight upward gradient, so I'm taking it to brake step 1 and then I'll put some power on. I said put some power on, why are you not taking powertrain? I better get this train secured, something's wrong here. I've done everything correctly but the train's not moving. So what are we doing differently that we haven't at previous stops? Don't think we've had to do a hill start. So let's try neutral. Forwards. What I'm going to do this time is try to take the brakes off and hope we catch it before it rolls back. Not a good driving technique, but power's coming on and we are moving forwards. Okay, so that's something that's not quite right here. I mean, the train stops okay, slows down okay, but there's something not quite right there in that we can't take power on brake step 1. So speed limit 65 miles per hour. So what I suggest doing now, rather than looking at notes to remind you of what's happening with speeds, is just watch what happens as you drive. Keep your attention through that windscreen, checking your dials as necessary. Route learning is actually quite easy to get caught up with memory aids and such things that we have, but really we need to be keeping things as simple as possible, so we can just be looking through the windscreen, taking it all in, learning the route through experience. So we can just follow the signage for now until we get to Thornton South Junction, at which point we need to take the power off, and then halfway along the down passenger loop the speed limit drops to 75 miles per hour. And then once we're clear of that, we maintain the 75 miles per hour until we get to an overbridge where we go to brake step 2 to get the speed down to 60 miles per hour for a falling overbridge, which is the main street, coal town of Balgony. Speed limit increases again to take us over marked inch viaduct. So for now we just follow the signage, HST80, HST80, until we get to Thornton South Junction, where we have to prepare to get our speed down to 75 miles per hour. So this is a summit, so down we go to Thornton Junctions now. Here's a signal for a junction. So position 2 route indicator would be for ScotRail's 5 circle services. So that's a repeater for the 80 mile per hour enhanced speed limit. There's no point in taking us up to that. So 75 miles per hour, and there's a freight train there, so don't make some noise. I'm doing that just in case the driver is out doing anything with those wagons. Just let them know that there's a fast train whizzing past. They can probably hear the engine though. So you know what we have to do now? We need to find the next overbridge, and then apply brake step 2 to get us down to 60 miles per hour. So there's that overbridge, so power off at this point. I have a morpeth board for that limit change. So here's where the limit change takes effect. And next point of interest will be Mark Inch Viaduct. So follow the signage at the side of the track. And then as we go through Mark Inch, you may need to brake step 1 to get us down to 75 miles per hour shortly after the platform. So here's a Mark Inch Viaduct. So we can be going up to 80 here, but there is a change in limit to 75 miles per hour. There it is. So we can follow the signage for now. Speed limit changes beyond Lady Bank just immediately at the end of the platform to 50 miles per hour. So with the speed limit coming down to 75 miles per hour, we are looking for a signal, an underbridge, and an equipment cabinet on the right. So we're looking for these three things in the one place. It's a facing signal, and that's the point where I'm going to recommend brake step 1 to take us into Lady Bank. as you practice the route, you'll get used to where all the curves are and where all the straight sections are. I think I use them quite a lot to determine whereabouts in the route I am. It's quite a long sweeping left-hand curve, this one. So adverse signalling, so I'm just reacting to that with brake step 1. Essentially to be driving cautiously rather than driving normally because we're approaching a red signal. And since we cleared the curve and we're on the straight, that means it's at the end of the platform at Ladybank. We are not servicing Ladybank today. Also, things to watch out for are Heather-inch user worked crossing. You see the Morpeth board warning us about a 50 mph speed limit change. Coming a little bit hot here, should have more brakes on than that. That's okay. So there's a red ahead, so we'll just roll up to that. Nicely timed, we've got majority of our speed off, and then signal finally changes and gives us our position 4 route indicator. We are continuing on the down 5 line. The line you see on the left is towards Perth, the Ladybank single line. And to the immediate left of us is called Dundee Loop. We're expecting the speed limit to change to 70 mph shortly. So follow the signage for now. We also need to look out for whistle boards. So we passed, it was Sweeton user crossing, and speed limit is now 85 mph, and we're approaching Bow of Fife automatic half barrier crossing. Now's the exciting part. We can take our train up to 100 mph. So that will take us through Springfield at speed, where we're used to trains flying past them. Past Springfield is 2 arched bridges. That's where we'll apply brake step 2 to get down to not a 75 mile per hour limit, but a 60 mile per hour limit. So basically the 75 that's referenced, that just gives us a little bit of time to complete our braking movement down to 60. So power off now, because we're at 100 and we've gone through Springfield. Here's the 2 arch bridges, so getting ready to brake, and the limit changes occur on a left-hand curve. I would say you don't want to pass the first set of speed boards at 75 mile per hour, because you've still got to get some speed off for the next set of boards, which are very close. Here's the first set. We're actually doing fine. We're pretty much down to the next limit, so that's okay. You can see that. Just coming up. Nice light braking, that's what we like for passenger comfort. We're about to pass through Cooper Station. Just under the arch bridges is Cooper. Speed limit 60 or 55 non-enhanced, and that should be shortly going up to 95, so we can follow the signage for that. HST 95. So we do need to come down to 85 miles per hour shortly, and if you've got a copy of my route bound notes, I've got that as something like it's an underbridge, a right curve, but most importantly yard buildings on the left. You pretty much just look out for yard buildings, to be honest. That's all the information you need, but I just give those extra reference points in case of low visibility conditions, so that you still know where you are and what you need to do. So this is your right curve. This is your under bridge. There's yard buildings. So we need to get down to 85 miles per hour enhanced. Our first of 2 speed boards, and we are approaching Lookers shortly, which is we're scheduled to park at 11:27, so we are running late. Well, that difficulty with hill starts and reverse signalling, so we can stay at 85 and we are heading for Siggy Hill automatic crossing, and that is where we take the power off, and the under bridge that follows that crossing, so power off, under bridge that follows is where we'll go to brake step 2 to take us into Lookers. Warning, you've been driving quite fast, so it's going to feel like you're absolutely crawling towards Lookers, so make use of your speedometer. The same advice is given in motor vehicle driving, in the car driving manual, and even the bus and lorry driving manuals too. Despite the belief of the bus industry that speed limits, that speedometers are optional equipment and don't need to be maintained. So I've backed off the brake, and I know that I'm coming in really fast here, and I'm doing that because I'm running late. This is not the speed I recommend coming in here at. I just know that I can get away with it and hold on to a little bit of time. That said, I could have done this bit a little bit faster. I think part of the reason I didn't get that right is because I'm used to the 2+9 formations, and well, all trains drive a little bit differently from one another, but this one seems to be a bit more different than usual, given that it's a 2+5 formation. Nice fast boarding time. Appreciate the train guard for that. So speed limit 60 enhanced. So let's get up there as fast as we can. Now you can follow the signage to a point. You'll see shortly an increase of the enhanced limit to 85 miles per hour. Now I don't recommend taking that. I recommend you go to 80 miles per hour only, because at most of these boards you'll still be accelerating, and at the last couple of boards the speed limit is coming down to 80 miles per hour enhanced. But you know what, maybe today I'm just going to try and push it a little bit. So basically there's 3 sets of the enhanced 85 miles per hour limit. So if I clear those, I can take whatever speed off I need to get to the 80. So I have to count the sets of speed boards for that. I wouldn't normally do this, I would normally just do exactly what I've recommended. Accelerate to 80 miles per hour only, but I'm just trying to scrape some time back. We are due into Dundee at our departure time from Dundee is 11:44. We have the Tay Bridge to cross, which we have to cross at 25 miles per hour. So we want to take as much speed as we can for now. 85. So by my estimates we should have another one of those. But yeah, barely got over it, so maybe not. There's our enhanced 80 mile per hour speed limit. And we will be going back up to 85 again shortly. Actually, that will be at Linkswood fuel siding. Holding 80 miles per hour as best we can on these curves and trying to anticipate those gradient changes. Quite extreme, so you can't exactly miss them. And we're going over another one, up and over the brow of the hill. It's like a high-speed roller coaster, this route in some parts. So let's find Linkswood fuel. There it is, so this speedboard will take us up to 85. And a couple of reference points to note, because we have to get our speed down to 65 miles per hour shortly. So this overbridge we're coming under carries the A92. Once we're clear of this, we are looking for a Howth on the left. I always use this Howth, and for one of the ones it follows. Right. So Howth on the left, but it's a brake step 2 to 65 miles per hour. And it's got a mortgage board beside it. I tend not to talk about mortgage boards when learning a route because they can disappear, they can be vandalised or stolen. The likelihood of the Howth and the mortgage board being stolen is less likely. So after 3 underbridges, we are going to see a Howth on the right hand side. This again is where we will apply brake step 2. That's to get us down to 25 miles per hour to cross the Tay Bridge. Now, this brake application alone might not be enough. You'll have to assess that on the approach. So, as we approach the signal box, the limit will drop to enhanced 35, but it's 25 pretty much straight after, so that's what we're aiming for. 25. It's 35. Tay Bridge South signal box. I need to be down to 25. Oh wait a minute, what am I doing? I've overcooked it. I did not need to do that, especially whilst running late. So what I've done is I've taken 10 miles per hour off more than was needed. That's probably because I was talking about how you may need more brake application to get to that limit, and I've just made a silly mistake. But these things happen. I don't think I've ever driven along this route perfectly. In fact, I don't think I've ever driven along any route perfectly, because humans simply are not capable of being perfect drivers. Perfection can be an aspiration, but you have to balance that with the knowledge that you will never be perfect. So it's an unlimited aiming point for your driving that ensures that you're constantly learning and developing with experience and additional training. But you certainly can't punish yourself for not producing a perfect drive, as long as you don't do anything dangerous. And on railways, dangerous could simply be 5 miles per hour over speed. I believe Amtrak did a video in recent years. They were demonstrating a derailment that could be caused by a train simply travelling 5 miles per hour above the speed limit. So we have to really take these speed limits seriously. It's okay to slow down too much for a speed limit. It's not okay to not slow down enough. And sometimes you might not understand what a speed limit is for. So here's a really obvious one as we're going over the girder section on the Tay Bridge. Sometimes speed limits are set on what appear to be very straight, good quality sections of track, but it's because they can't afford to have resonance effects caused by trains going at certain speeds. So for example, a resonance sound wave in a tunnel could be enough over time to loosen it. Travelling over a strong bridge and finding a sort of vibrational resonance on that bridge could weaken it over time. So that's sometimes why speed limits appear in places that we think, what am I missing here? Why do we need to be going at this speed on this straight section, no curves? It can be from anything, including things like underground utility tunnels. You just don't know. But what you do know is that those speed limits have been put there for a reason, and we don't want to find out what that reason is. So we're already going slightly downgrade, so I'm just gently tapping the brake on now and then, but that grade is about to increase as we come round the curve and down off of the elevated Tay Bridge. Peak of that gradient comes after the former Esplanade station platforms. So once we clear the junction below, as in Dundee Central Junction, speed limit will briefly increase to 40 miles per hour. Because because of the length of the train, we cannot take that. The speed limit halfway along the platform in Dundee changes to 15 miles per hour. So it's the down platform line we're heading for, and it's platform 4 with everything going according to plan. Technically it's the line is reversible into platform 1, but that wouldn't be a usual that wouldn't be a usual movement. So there's the 40. We've not got a chance of getting up to that. Now in the down perf line. And apologies for those of you watching on YouTube. I am going to briefly interrupt the video because I can only record in 2-hour segments, so I'm just going to stop the recording so I've got a fresh file to write onto, because if I were to leave it running, I would probably forget about it and our journey would be cut short. So it won't take me long to do that. 50 miles per hour, and we are approaching red. So the cautious approach. Great. So now I'm just going to secure the train, set a DRA. Let the train guard do her stuff, and I am just going to run over and change my recording. Oh yes, I'm coming. Right, here I am, back again. Check signal, DRA off as we're clear, and speed limit is 15 miles per hour out of Dundee into Dock Street tunnels and towards Camperdown. So for the record, I am doing this journey in all one run. I haven't simply cheated and decided I will do Dundee and then I'll film an entirely different run the next day and try and pass it off. You could do that, but that's not what I've done. I'm generally doing the whole journey with you right now. So, if you're looking at a track plan right now as you follow along with this, you'll see that the mile markers have now reset. Previously we've been following the mile markers from Edinburgh Waverley, which ran up to 58.69. Now the mile markers follow the former Dundee East Station. once we're up this hill and working our way around points, we can start to very gently increase speed as the train is clearing the junction. Speed limit has increased to 40 miles per hour, and we have whistle board. So this is Camperdown Junction. So with the power gently applied until the whole train is straightened up. Speed limit is increasing to 70 miles per hour. We're past that. And again, this is one of these places you can follow the signage to a point. So the speed limit is going to go up to enhanced 80, then enhanced 100. But there's no point in taking that 100. When you see that, accelerate to 85 miles per hour only. There's the 100, so 85 only. So we will shortly be getting a long stretch at 100 miles per hour. There's the 85 I was warning you about. That's Bertie Ferry Road we've just gone under. And 100 enhanced. So it's 100 through the next 6 stations. So we're going through Bertie Ferry, Balmossy, Montefief, Barry Links, Golf Street and Carnoustie. We're stopping at Arbroath and we're scheduled to depart there at 12:01. So I just want to be a bit sensitive with the train handling, as there's quite a lot of curves along here, despite the fact that we're on an enhanced limit. That is a slightly strange signal we went past. So the main aspect showed red, but you saw the 2 white dots below authorising us into platform 2. It's a little bit disconcerting sometimes to approach basically a red light at speed and apparently go through. So there's actually not a lot to do now other than obey the whistle boards. until we get to a high wall on our left. So here we go through Balmossy. That's the point so once we see that high wall, that's the point at which we'll start preparing for a reduction towards Carnoustie. Monififth. About 4 miles to Barry Links. So this is Barry Links, so the next 2 stations are very close. We'll recognise, so passing Anderson Street, user worked crossings, there are lots of user worked crossings around here. This is Gulf Street, so we're approaching Carnoustie and we'll recognise that as having a little bit of point work and a signal box. So following that, there are a number of user worked crossings. So there's signal box and there's Carnoustie. So passing Carnoustie, we've got to go through Bucky Hillock, Panbride East, East Haven, Alton, Inverpeffer as user worked crossings, and just before the former Elliott Junction, Cafe, which has got lights only. It's an automatic crossing but lights only. So, this is a high wall I was talking about, so power off, and at the next whistle board we're going to sound the horn, but also apply brake step 1 to get us towards a 90 mile per hour speed limit. We can coast at 90. And then at the speed board, we can apply brake step 1 again to get us down to 65 miles per hour as we're entering Carnoustie, as in the place. So there's the mop of board. And now we're at 65, we're looking for the next overbridge which carries Dundee Road. We're going to apply brake step 2 there to get us down to 20 miles per hour entering the platforms at Carnoustie. Now we've been travelling for a considerable distance now at 100 miles per hour constant. So your speed perception will feel a bit off doing this, so once again your speedometer is your friend. So we have adverse signalling, so we're going to find our red at the end of the platform, so this will be another one of those cautious approaches, but it's a 20 mile per hour approach anyway, so that doesn't really make much odds. Which just means we'll have the brakes on a little bit sooner. As in going by the platform. So there's our 20 board, and got it speed down in quite good time. It's quite a distinctive looking station. Arbroath, we definitely know we're here, and not just some other station. So I want to get the nose of the train right up to the signal. So just taking a nice controlled roll at it to make sure I don't stop in such a way that I can't see it. Just going to get that almost touching the left of the windscreen, and that should be a stopped in the right place. So a DRA stop again because it's a red signal, and our speed limit away from here is 20 miles per hour. Our signal is cleared, and now we just wait for train guard. How are we doing for time? That's actually got a little bit of time because it's 12:01 we depart and it's 12 o'clock. That's 12. Bang on, train guard. Nicely done. So let's get ourselves to Stonehaven. So for now, my recommendation in practice is that you simply follow the signage. So we're away at 20 until we're signposted to do otherwise. Eventually the speed limit will read on the boards as 80 and HST 90. At that point we can take the train up to speed and we're looking for the rear of a semaphore signal on the right. At that point we'll do brake step 1 to get us down to 80 miles per hour. That takes us past Inverkeithler signal box, then there's another speed board. We do brake step 2 to get us down to 65. Which gets us over the Lunan Bay Viaduct. Our next calling point is Montrose 1239. So I'll go over the events in the order in which they happen. We're approximately 6 miles away from Inverkeithler. So that's the speed limit change up to 90 miles per hour. So that triggers me now to look out for that semaphore. It's a little bit away yet, but that is our next point of reference. The rear of the semaphore signal on the right, where we'll do brake step 1 to get down to 80 miles per hour for Inverkeithler signal box. We will also have to remember that as we pass the signal box to get brake step 2 in to take our speed down to 65 miles per hour. Now, pass Inverkeithler signal box, and I recommend the speed board 80 over HST 90 to do a step 2 brake application to get down to that. So there it is, coming up on the right, so power's off. brake step 1. That says we're doing just fine. 80 miles per hour, so we can hold that. I think it's interesting that the next speed board tells us to go faster then, and what we're actually doing is using it as a braking point. So get down to 65 for Lunnon Bay Viaduct. That's worked nicely. And we can resume 90 miles per hour if we can get there. And what we're doing is we're going up to a summit which is just before Dunenald Viaduct. And when we get to that viaduct, it's brake step 2 to get down to 50 miles per hour for Euston Junction. We're going to go on to a single track section for a cutaway. It looks like we're approaching the summit as the horizon is sort of disappearing. So Dunenald Viaduct, brake step 2 to 50 for Euston Junction, but we'll need to use a little bit of brake right shortly in order to hold our speed. So brake step 2. So we are signalled clear. And things are just about to get narrower. 50 miles per hour, we've got that pretty much spot on. Never whistle board. So the next part's quite easy, we're going into Montrose. So we're going to cross 2 viaducts. One is Rossi Viaduct, and then there's a longer South East Viaduct that follows. And what we're going to do is we're going to come off the end of the far end of South East Viaduct, and then apply brake step 2 to get us into Montrose platform. So you can see 7 for signal rear, we can see signal box. So it's a very distinctive place, there's no doubt where we are. And there's DB Cargo operate out on the right. So this is one we've got to be quite clever about where we stop so that we can see the signal. So a nice slow roll up to that. Well early, so we can take as much time as we want. Interesting that, we went from running late to early. And this will do. So this is a DRA stop. And now time to take a little bit of a breather. We're due to depart from here at 12:17 and Stonehaven at 12:39, which is the penultimate stop. So something a bit interesting coming up. When we see hillside, Glenesk, Malting disused sidings on our right, we will be shortly changing just before Craigo, Canaber Junction in fact, to measuring miles from Carlisle via Perth and the closed forfar, starting from 204 miles from Carlisle via Perth and forfar and finishing at 241 at Aberdeen. Okay, that signal's good, and we've been cleared so by our guard. We're not moving again. Just do what we did last time, just reset things again. That's better. So the speed limit away from here is 75 miles per hour. That is for HST enhanced. And as I mentioned, we're going to go by hillside green-esque sidings. That's where our mile markers are going to change. We're going to pass Craigo signal box, cross the Northwest Viaduct. If you just concentrate on the speed boards as we pass them at this stage, so you're learning by looking. I want you to set a trigger of the speed limit, which is HST 100 when that comes up. At that point we have to go through Lawrence Kirk, that's platforms on either side of us. Then we're going to proceed to Fordham. We recognise this by the fact that there will be houses either side of the track. That can be a power off point to get down to a 95 mile per hour enhanced speed limit, and it should just be power down only for that, won't need any brakes. Beyond that we have a straight section of track with two underbridges before a right curve. At that point we have to get brake step 2 in for a speed limit of 75 miles per hour. Once we've done that, I'll guide you through the approach to Stonehaven. We are scheduled to depart Stonehaven at 12:39. So that's hillside, Glenesque Malting sidings on the right. Speed limit is still 75. Now going up to 85. Signal box. This is the North Esk Viaduct. Just be aware that when we're going into Lawrence Kirk that we will have cleared a summit, so we will have to control our speed. Miles per hour, so now we're looking for Lawrence Kirk and then the houses at either side of the track for Fordun to get our power off to get down to 95 miles per hour. So under this arch bridge with the signal and the whistle board, we're coming to the top of the summit now. This is Lawrence Kirk. So now we're looking for Fordun. Fordun, power off. now just notch up to maintain the speed. So the next thing we've got to look out for, features, is a straight section of track preceding a right hand curve with 2 underbridges. At that point we want to go brake step 2 to 75 miles per hour. There's a rather strange feature after that, which is a morpeth board that actually tells you to speed up if you're following the HST limits, that is. I don't know for signage like that anywhere else in the country. Be interesting to know as a bit of trivia. So I'm on a straight bit of track. Here is an underbridge. And here is a second underbridge. Here's a morpeth board for what we've already anticipated. I think it's important to note that with very few exceptions we've had to anticipate the speed limit changes before the morpeth boards to give the kind of quality of drive that I would always want to give. So, things that are coming up. We have to stop at Stonehaven. So we're going to see that weird morpeth board shortly. Then our speed limit is going to increase to HST 80. And once I've cleared that speed board, I'm going to look for a house on the left. At that point, I'll take the power off. There's a whistle board that follows. At that we will apply brake step 1 to get us down to 75 miles per hour. So there's that morpeth board. Here is our speed limit increase, 65 over HST 80. So we can get up to that now. We can attempt to. And there is our house. So the power's off, and we're looking for our whistle board. There it is, a whistle board and a semaphore signal and Carnoustie signal box. So let's get us down to 75 miles per hour and then hold it if power is necessary. There's another speedboard coming up, which is for HST85. At that point, if we've got the power on, it should be coming off. Our power is off anyway, which is what I'd expect on this section of track with the gradient and such. We're then going to cross Fettersole Viaduct and then apply brake step 2 to take us into the platform at Stonehaven. Adverse signalling. So let's just keep that brake applied. Fettersole Viaduct, we're very close to Stonehaven. That is where you're going to find the red signal. So we'll just clear the end of the platform with the nose of our Class 43 locomotive. That would be a good stopping point. 12:37, and we're due to depart at 12:39. Definitely time for a breather with the DRA set. Noting how the effects of driving and doing the route learning commentary is exhausting. So I'm sorry if I haven't got as much to say now as I did at the start. My priority is getting the train to Aberdeen safely. We must be getting clearance soon. We are past our departure time, but we're still on a red signal. We have 17 miles to Aberdeen, and at the moment about just over 20 minutes to get there. So the signal's cleared, so let the guard do their thing. We've had a very efficient guard today. So it's 85 miles per hour away from here. We will cross Muckel's Viaduct and there will be a speed board for 75 and HST 95 at that point. We can take the train up to 95. Then we're looking for a Howth on our left. We do a lot of Howth spotting on this run. And it's brake step 2 to get us down to 80 miles per hour then we'll get another blast up to 100 miles per hour through Portleven, and then manage our approach into Aberdeen. So I'll go through that as it happens. So up to 85 miles per hour. Den of Cowie Viaduct. This tells us we are close to the summit. This is Newcombe's Viaduct approaching. Speed limit's gone up to 95 miles per hour. So we need to find a house on the left, and that's a reference point for brake step 2. There it is. So let's get down to 80 miles per hour. Got that one just. Elsick Viaduct. last blast at 100 miles per hour, if we can get there. I think we can. So the next thing we've got to deal with is we'll pass through Port Leven, and then there's a right hand curve where we need to apply brake step 1 until we get to speed limit board, that's 80 stroke HST 90, or 80 over HST 90 in fact, and that brake step, we have to do brake step 2 at that speed board to get down to 65 miles per hour for the approach into Aberdeen. The scenery gets quite distinctive, so things get easier. This is Port Leven, so let's find that right hand curve for brake step 1 and brake step 2 at the speed limit board down to 65. How are we doing for speed? Yep, we'll proceed up to brake step 2. Nearly at 65, so I can back off the brake. But I'm going to have to intermittently use brake step 1 to hold our speed down the gradient. There's a change in speed limit, so we're well in time for that. No more enhanced limits into Aberdeen. And the other thing that's quite helpful now is that the Morpeth boards are actually nearer than they need to be for our braking points. That's if you wish to use my braking points, you may work out a better way of doing this route. That'll be Nigby on our right. So not far now. It does feel like we do 65 for quite a while on the approach into Aberdeen. We're going away from the coast now, inland a little, and we're going to cross the River Dee. So we don't need to react to the north board. What we can do is use the next AWS ramp as a braking point. Brake step 2. This is Craig Inches, so we're about a mile away now from our stop. Our next point of interest will be D Viaduct. We'll clear that. And at Ferryhill Junction, brake step 2 will bring us down to 20, then 15 to get us across the points and into the platform. We're heading for one of the terminus platforms. So this is a D Viaduct. Again, we don't need to respond to the motive board. I think there are only 2 like that on this route. So Ferryhill Junction, this is a good braking point. And again, check the speedometer because it does feel quite slow. Position 1 route indicator on yellow signal. The red will of course be the buffer stop. So here we are coming into platform 5, maintaining concentration as we come in. Don't want to make a silly mistake on the last bit of a journey. Well, statistically speaking, there's quite a good chance of doing something like that near the end of a journey. So I can stop anywhere by the S marker. That doesn't involve hitting the buffer. So securing the train, full service, DRA, should be in neutral, and we'll set the lights to tail, so get the headlights off, and our tail lights set. So that's all we have to do now. If you've made it this far with me, well, thank you. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope that you will feel inspired to give this a run yourself. Of course, you don't have to do high-speed train services to Aberdeen. There's commuter routes available on the route also. There's a short one to Carnoustie. There's Turbo Stars to Dundee. More stopping services to Aberdeen. There's some freight also, starting at Lithgow, going via Winchborough and such places. And there's some rail tours. Well, plenty to do. I've got some more route learning content coming up, covering the Edinburgh junctions. Unfortunately, this route doesn't simulate travelling in the other direction, but I can do a journey from Carnoustie to Edinburgh Waverley. I will be covering also the Edinburgh to Newcastle route as part of the East Coast InterCity operator, and my train simulator comparison and introduction series will be returning to Edinburgh to Glasgow. This time the electrified Edinburgh to Glasgow with the Class 385 and Train Sim World free. Please don't go away yet, because I would like to roll some credits to thank the wonderful community who made this simulator, route and train available for all to enjoy without asking for a penny.